Now in theaters from director Steven Spielberg is The Fablemans. I don't know why I say it that way, but I like to. The Fablemans. This is a period drama, semi-autobiographical. Actually haven't had the time. I just saw this movie last night. I haven't had the time to go and look up whether this is terribly accurate to the life of Steven Spielberg, but I think most people going into this to know about Spielberg kind of presume that aspects of this is. So this is set, this spans time from, let's say, the early 50s, early to mid 50s until mid-ish 60s. And it tells the story of this little kid who falls in love with movies, falls in love with making movies, and all he wants to do is be a filmmaker. And he has one parent who is very serious and you need to do something that people can use. You need to do something that's concrete, that's real. And one parent who is follow your dreams, movies are magic, do what makes you happy. And therein lies the struggle in this young Fableman as to whether he will be able to follow the path of being a filmmaker and making movies in Hollywood, or if he'll work for the computer company that his father works for. So I really enjoyed this movie. I really didn't know going in. I have a personal belief that normal people, as I call them, don't care about movies or movies about making movies. Those tend to speak more to industry people or to film fans. And this release of The Fablemans currently, it's not playing everywhere. It's sort of a limited release to begin with, and hopefully it will do well enough to expand. And as the Monkees once sang, it may be coming to your town eventually. But it's worth seeking out and seeing on the big screen. Any movie that's about the magic of movies, that has sequences where people are sitting in a theater captivated by a beam of light on the screen, they tend to work better seeing them in a theater. I was surprised at the decent-sized crowd for I guess it was a Friday night at 6, which is probably when you want a decent-sized crowd, but mostly older crowd, which is totally fine. It's nice to have movies for grown-ups once in a while, but this is a very whimsical, very funny, touching at times movie. It's a coming-of-age story. It's about this young kid, Sam Fableman, who goes to see the greatest show on earth. He's taken a little timidly to see the greatest show on earth in the theater as a kid, and is just captivated by this movie and this train wreck that happens in the film. And then all he wants for Christmas is a train set, so he can wreck it. And his mom, I'm not going to tell you every part of the story, and his mother decides that the best way for him to conquer this issue he has with wrecking trains is to film it so that he can watch the film over and over again and not destroy his expensive train set over and over again. And that leads to grander and grander backyard cinematic extravaganzas done by the young Sam Fableman. And his father he's a working man, he's a company man, he works for various very well-known companies, and he's just like a genius. He's like a computer math genius. And his mother is a artistic sort who plays the piano and plays the piano on TV, or does at one point in the film. And it's this struggle between, art and academia, and who will win and what will be left of them, as they say, the great old Chainsaw Massacre tagline. It's a really rather wonderful movie. I don't know if this is going to appeal to everybody. I think it appeals more to people like myself who are film fans, and people who did have aspirations to be filmmakers, or shot some backyard home movies or student films in their day. It reminds me, there's a DVD you could get long ago. I don't know if it's in print anymore. It's called Monster Kid Home Movies. And it was a compilation of these home movies that kids made in the 60s. Mummy movies and werewolf movies and Frankenstein movies and vampire movies and things like that. And there's a lot of that in this. You see Sam Fableman has 3 younger sisters, and they are willingly or unwillingly participants in these short films that he makes. And he makes them as for like a Cub Scout merit badge or an Eagle Scout badge, and he just keeps going. And you see how that influences his relationships with females, or lack thereof, and other kids in his school and all that. And it seemed a little long. Honestly, when the movie ended, it seemed to me that it ended a little abruptly, and I would have been happy to see this film continue for another half hour. It's about 2.5 hours long. But there was the period when he hits high school that it seemed to kind of meander a bit and just sort of, to me, become less about the filmmaking passion and more about the real life, that pesky character development stuff. But overall, it's very funny. It's laugh out loud funny at times. It's beautifully shot. Spielberg knows how to make a good movie. Even if he's not making E.T., he's never going to make E.T. or Raiders again or anything like that. He's not interested in making movies like that again. But the movies he does make are all quality. They're just not mass market, broad audience blockbusters like they used to be. Spielberg movie is always worth seeing, even if it's not among his greatest movies of all time. I thought I keep wanting to call this Meet the Fablemans, but The Fablemans is very good. The performances in it are very good. I'm blanking on the name, unfortunately. I've got no notes with me. The name of the actor, it's Paul. He played the Riddler in the most recent Batman movie. He's been in many films. He's very good. He has a very young face. So you think about how old people are when they have kids, especially back then when they have kids, and how much older everybody looked. And it's totally legit to cast this actor as the father in The Fablemans. But as the film went on, he started to look a little older. He has that baby face. He's like DiCaprio. He never quite looks totally like a grown up to me. And again, forgive me that I'm doing this off the cuff and not remembering the names of all of the actors. The actress who played his mother, who's great, who I love, who for some reason right now on a pretty empty stomach, I can't remember her name. She was excellent. Judd Hirsch shows up in the film. He's excellent and very important in the role he plays. Everybody's great. It nails the period details great. It nails, okay, let me give you a little information. For 20 plus years, 25 or more years, part of what I did for work was transferring old home movies to video. Initially, it was to videotape, then it was to DVD, then it was to Blu-ray or MP4 or whatever. But I handled so much film. I handled so much 8mm, Super 8, 16mm film in my life. I know when they're getting it wrong in movies. And that's that movie, what was it, Sinister, that came out a few years ago. I remember calling BS on some aspects of that film. This movie gets it right. The sound of the projector running, the sound of the film as you thread up the projector, the sound of the sprocket holes finding the sprockets, the sound of a little editor, the sound of the wind-up Bolex running. It's all perfect. The music choices in the film are great. Maybe a hairstyle or two is a little off to my eye, but it's great. Late in the film, you may know about this already, I went into this movie pretty blind. I saw most of one trailer and then I was like, nope, that's enough. I know I want to see this. I don't want to watch anymore. A very, very famous director cameos in this movie as a very famous director from an earlier era. And it's perfect and beautiful and hilarious. And if you know who it is on screen, it's very funny. And if you don't, it's still a very funny scene. So I could belabor this point, too late, but The Fablemans is very good. If you're a movie fan, it's very good. If you like family drama, it's very good. If you like coming of age stories, it's very good. If you like the look of the early 60s, and the cars and the clothes and the home decor, it's very good. In theaters now, from Steven Spielberg, The Fablemans.